Hello everyone. How are you all doing? I am currently in New York. I just wrapped up with NFT NYC, which was absolutely wild, and oh my goodness. If you do want to see a video, updated video about NFTs, please let me know, and of course I'll make one, but I'm not gonna talk about that in this video. I didn't know how to make this video, but it's actually so perfect for, like, I'm done with NFT NYC, but I am staying an extra 4 days because I'm here working with a brand, and it actually has to do with women. So this video really fits perfectly with this week, and I've been thinking about it for a while. Like, maybe it's time to make a video like this, since I am one of the very few female landscape photographers that is on YouTube, and YouTube is a great platform to spread the word and share your truth and all of those things. So as you guessed by the title, I am going to give you a little look into the window of what it's like to be a woman in landscape photography. And this probably doesn't have to just be about landscape photography. It could probably extend to many different genres, but my channel is about landscape photography and my self-portraits, so I'm just, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to talk about it within that genre. Thing that I want to say, because it's really important to acknowledge this, and it's actually part of my strategy, is that I wouldn't have the opportunities that I've had if it wasn't working alongside a lot of really great men. And my audience, believe it or not, I think it's a good 70% of you guys are actually men. So thank you so much for obviously subscribing to me. It means the world, because I know how much you guys do support me. And again, yeah, none of that goes unseen. Of course, 100% I would not be here if it wasn't for some really, really great men in my life helping me grow. I'm definitely not one of those people, like, I'm not a feminist or anything like that. I appreciate the differences of both men and women, and it's been really, really interesting, obviously, as we see the world of careers for women evolve, and it changes and it grows, and it's definitely getting a lot better. But there's definitely some things I think are important to share. So if you will bear with me and watch the rest of the video, I do have a little outlook of what it's like to be a woman in this genre. I made sure to do my research before filming this video. So earlier today, I just tried to find like different podcasts or maybe some articles that were written by women or women were speaking on, just to see how they feel, because I know how I feel. So I wanted to see if it lines up and like we all relate to each other. And it turns out that we do. And there was one common thing that most women said, and especially women in the workshop industry or the tour industry, is that they do not feel like they are taken seriously, and a lack of respect. And that is something that I have definitely felt many, many times. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because we don't live in a world anymore where, let's say, men are taking care of women. Like, it's the careers are changing. We're all having to work. And when, you know, this is something that you need to pay your bills with, it's scary. I don't know how else to describe it other than it's scary, and you don't feel like you're being taken seriously. So there's always this little bit of anxiety that it's like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it because I'm a woman. I am very grateful, and again, I have had many opportunities, and I'm pretty confident on my path as I grow through this. And of course, I chose, a path of photography that is quite challenging. So I know that that fear is pretty silly for me to have, but it definitely says something when multiple women are saying, hey, this is how we feel. And if you really step back and look at it, like, especially with brands, and brands, I believe brands have a responsibility. If, photography is a community. We all work together, and brands there's so many still to this day where women are just not a part of the team. It's not acceptable, and it's not helpful, and it doesn't help us change or evolve or get out of this situation. But there definitely are brands, again, as I never want this video to come off as like complaining or anything. There are some, I work with an amazing brand that is doing great things for women. So the ones that are, it's not going overlooked whatsoever. So there's that feeling of not being taken seriously. And the best way I can describe this is, I want to tell you a little story of something that happened to me. It was on a tour a while back that I was co-leading with a male photographer. And it actually wasn't the way I was treated by a man on this tour. It was the way that I was treated by another woman, an older woman. I didn't really know how to tell this story because I don't like, to share too much, and I'm definitely not sharing any names or what tour it was or where it was, but the story has been shared around the photography community, so it's not like people don't know, because people have approached me about it. So we had this older woman that was on the tour, and when you meet people on tours, you usually get a sense of, the vibes and how you connect and get along. And I obviously felt something, or I knew something wasn't quite right, and I was like, okay, I just noted it in my mind, like there potentially could be some trouble. To make the story not so long and, definitely shorten it down, it was so bad how much this woman did not like me for no reason. There was no reason for her to not like me, that she would say things. Oh, I should say that on tours, I teach landscape photography, but I also teach like environmental portrait photography. So it's something that's always been extra added into the tours and gets us out there doing different things. And it's optional. And if you want to photograph it, you can photograph it. And most participants absolutely love doing it. We always have a blast. But this woman just hated so much what I was doing. She made this comment that I would rather cut off my head than photograph you in a dress. And anyways, it just progressively got worse as the days went on, and we definitely tried to deal with the situation, confront it or sort it out. And I remember that while she was talking to my male co-leader, she wouldn't even look at me. And if she was going to look at me, this woman was going to spit in my face. And she would say, I can't quote her word for word because it was a while ago, but she would say things like, I'm not here for her, I'm here for you. And it was just this moment of this so much disrespect, and I felt like I was being treated like a little girl that was like nothing, like scum. It was pretty awful. I definitely had a moment on that tour. It definitely made me feel pretty bad, but I look back now and I don't feel anything towards it. But that happens far too often, and I can guarantee you, if it was two male leaders on that tour, that situation would have never happened. And I'm always a big believer of self-awareness and looking within to see if there's anything I have done to add to the situation. But there was no reason for that woman to treat me that way. It simply was because I am a woman. So not only are there sometimes the battles with some men and how men will treat women in the landscape photography community, but it's also other women treating other women poorly. I was just listening to this podcast where a bunch of female landscape photographers did, and it was lovely. It was so great. But they definitely kept mentioning this one thing. And I believe this is true as well. Really true, and why I'm making this video. And I'm really not afraid. I'm not afraid at all to be a voice to this, or share stories, or try to help evoke some sort of change. But they would say, like, maybe us women should be doing more to talk about this situation or change it. We can't just rely on other people to do this for us. And I couldn't agree with that more. And especially people who are higher quality female photographers. Not everybody is comfortable with talking about this and sharing it, but for the ones who are, we definitely, have influence and have a voice and can be helping to change this. So listening to that podcast actually only inspired me to start talking about this. I felt like this, kind of this fire in it. I was like, yes, absolutely, I can totally talk about this. And I was a little bit afraid at first, but it actually took away that fear of talking about it. And I was like, no, it's important. And I know that I'm not complaining. I know that I'm just sharing something that we should definitely be working towards changing. So there's so many great men out there that always ask, like, what can we do? How could we help? And I want to tell you one more story, because this was from a male, and it was actually my very first podcast that I was ever on, and it was a few years back. And I remember I was so excited to do this podcast, because this person actually has a great podcast, but I'm going to leave out which one it was. My kind of interview was about growing on Instagram and like with my photography. And in my mind, I really honestly thought that that's what we were going to talk about, which we did. But then he kind of pulled the rug out from underneath me, because he asked me this one question. And I remember after the podcast, I just felt so very embarrassed that he actually asked me that question. And I didn't think it was appropriate or right whatsoever, because it's definitely not true. But midway through the interview, and again, because I do the self-portraits and I pose in the landscapes with my dress, he asked me if I'm using my body to get attention, to get ahead, to get a following. It was I don't know how he phrased the question, but it was along those lines. And at the time, like, I immediately like responded to it and I was like, no. And I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I never think of it in that way. Like, and I think about my dresses and like, I'm pretty much almost wearing a turtleneck at times, like I'm fully covered, and it really is just like this beautiful flowing dress that is in the images. Why would I be using that to get attention? It's an art form, it's part of photography, and it's what I do, and it's me as a photographer. So I definitely felt in that moment like that lack of respect, and like just another not a win for being a woman in the landscape photography world. It was more of a little bit of a setback in that interview, and again, I was very embarrassed. So things like that definitely don't help, and obviously do your research on who you're interviewing before you go in and ask those questions. But it just wasn't appropriate, and it just, oh, come on, you know, we got to get away from that stuff. And then there has been some other times where I've been asked, and there's nothing wrong with asking questions, you know, that's how we learn and grow. But I will be asked sometimes, like, what is the male equivalent to like my self-portraits? And I honestly don't know how to answer that question other than go out, stand in the landscape, wear whatever you want to wear, and take a portrait. If you're a man, there you go. There's your male self-portrait. Like, again, why are we something that has to do with like a dress and that it's beautiful and flowing, and maybe I have long dark hair, but why are we painting that as something? Like, why can't we just let it be what it is? It's beautiful. Just like there's many men, like men have strength and it's beautiful. Like, we don't bring each other down in that way. So these are only two teeny tiny small stories amongst a probably horde of stories that I know a lot of other women have. But the biggest issue that I have faced myself, and then again listening to some more higher, like elite female photographers, was just not being taken seriously. And I really, really hope to help change that, because you know, part of the purpose of the yellow dress is, right now my audience is mainly men, and this is great because I want that, absolutely. But I know that there's also little eyes watching, and they're actually younger girls, because when they look at me in the yellow dress, look, they see a character, and it's those eyes that I want to make sure I am impacting and having an influence on. And you know, if they ever decided to do this down the road, like a landscape photography career, definitely showing them that they can do it, but also being a voice to help change it for women. And then of course there is, I mean, the obvious is that there just isn't as many female landscape photographers as there is male, and that's just a fact. I don't really feel that there's anything wrong with that. It just kind of is the way that it is. And as we keep evolving and women show more interest in types of photography like this, then that's great. And I definitely believe they will. So it's definitely a very small pool of us, which the positive sides of that is I believe that it actually opens up more opportunities, because there are so many amazing brands, so many amazing people that definitely are seeking out women in the landscape photography world. So I really hope that this video doesn't paint like this, again, this picture that is like, this is the issue, someone fix it. I'm really seriously and very passionately would love to be involved with this and spreading my message and just helping in whatever way that I can. And to go back to the question that a lot of men always ask, and even brands, I hope some brands will see this, is they say, well, how can we help? Spread the news, you know, share, you know, bring more women on that you know, because there are definitely a ton of great voices out there that can influence and, you know, help change this. So just keep sharing it for us. And like even this video, if you do want to help, share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because the more that I grow, the bigger an audience that I have, the more that the message can spread. It's like a trickle-down effect. It might not change the whole, the situation as a whole, but it will definitely have an impact on a few people. And the ones that we want it to have an impact on are, for me, it's definitely younger girls, so that they know what they can accomplish in this field. And then also for me, helping change it as we grow through it. I hope that, yeah, I hope that you actually enjoyed this video. While I'm traveling, I do the sit down talk videos. It's just really the only way for me to film. I am almost done here in New York, and then I have a little bit of a break in Canada where I'll be doing more behind the scenes content. But after this, I am going to London. I'm going back to London, and I'm going to Scotland. And those trips are more so I can go create more work and evolve actually in my filmmaking, because that's so important. I'm very, very serious about YouTube. So that's coming up, and I'm so excited to go and explore Scotland. Be sure to subscribe to my email list. I know many of you already know that I'm going to be putting out a editing tutorial at the end of the month. And I guess I've actually been noticing a lot lately that a lot of the editing tutorials are based around Lightroom. Well, I'm going to throw in something a little bit different here, because mine's based in Photoshop, and I take you through my process and how I create dramatic images, honestly, within like 15 minutes, because I don't spend a lot of time editing, but I want drama and I want it to look really good. But I'm just quick. I'm a very, very quick person. So I take you through that, and it's really, really simple and something I believe that everybody can do. So that is coming out at the end of the month. Go subscribe to my email list, because then you'll get the 10% discount code, which you can use to apply to that tutorial later on. I'm probably missing so much stuff to tell you guys, but my mind has also been everywhere because I'm traveling so much. So we will definitely catch up on anything that I missed in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.